Just to be sure, there's a spoiler. The Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1 finale brilliantly set up the upcoming Season 2, leaving some key questions unanswered while also letting a group of storylines finally be tackled after the Young Sheldon spinoff briefly mentioned them throughout First Marriage Season 1. Two major developments drove the story forward in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1, episodes 21 and 22. Mandy's promotion to full-time weather girl, which also revealed she had worked for months with her ex-boyfriend Scott, and Fagenbacher's proposal to buy McAllister Auto Tires from Jim, whose serious consideration of the offer angered Georgie. With both developments centering on the McAllisters and the Coopers, most of the unanswered questions inevitably stem from where those storylines left all Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage characters after Season 1's finale. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1's general direction also heavily influenced its remaining mysteries, especially in relation to the Young Sheldon characters who already appeared in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage or have yet to do so. This leaves Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 2 with multiple storylines to unpack based on what First Marriage Season 1, Young Sheldon, and The Big Bang Theory established. Welcome to Movie Spy. Is McAllister Auto Tires the start of Georgie's Dr. Tire? Georgie never mentions the start of his business empire in TBBT. Older Georgie's introduction in The Big Bang Theory Season 11, Episode 23 presented him as a successful entrepreneur to everyone's eyes except Sheldon's, who continued to see him only as the older brother who picked on him. Dr. Tire was presented in that instance as Georgie's tire chain that expanded all over Texas, but The Big Bang Theory or Young Sheldon never revealed what got Georgie to that point. Georgie and Ruben buying McAllister Auto Tires from Jim in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1's ending could very much coincide with the start of his business empire, with no more information being available about it. However, Georgie and Ruben's venture could also be just a starting point, making Dr. Tire something Georgie creates on his own in the future after gaining experience with McAllister Auto Tires. Do Mandy and Scott really not have feelings for one another anymore? Their interactions seem to hint otherwise despite Mandy's assurances. While the boyfriend with whom Mandy worked was something audiences and Georgie knew, Scott only made his surprise first appearance in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1's finale. Mandy hiding from everyone that she had been working with Scott in Medford for months, despite doing so on and off, could have already sounded particularly evasive, but their interactions made her lies even more worrisome. Indeed, although Mandy maintained that there was nothing between her and Scott, and she wouldn't jeopardize her marriage and family, her and Scott's exchange about his fiancée not knowing anything about her in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1's ending was odd and too quickly glossed over. Coupled with Mandy and Scott's awkward interactions, they might very well have lied about it, making everything more complicated when they see one another often in First Marriage Season 2. What will Jim do now that he sold the shop and is retired? Jim's retirement happened very fast and out of the blue. McAllister Auto Tires has been the setting for so many of Jim and Georgie's bonding moments, along with being extremely important for the McAllisters and Jim in particular, who often opposed Georgie's attempts at modernizing it in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1. Jim considering selling the shop and retiring was a bolt out of the blue in First Marriage Season 1's finale, as he never hinted at working toward that. Jim spending most of his time at the auto shop in Season 1 also raises a major question about how he will spend his time in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 2. After all, the few times Audrey and Jim were both home for the holidays, bickering was extremely common. Jim's retirement will inevitably change the newfound stability at the McAllisters, making what he'll do with his time a mystery for First Marriage Season 2 to solve. Are Mandy and Georgie ever moving past rehashing their debt and age problems during fights? Georgie and Mandy's fights always lead to those recriminations. No matter the topic of their fight, First Marriage Season 1's finale proved that Mandy and Georgie always resort to the same type of recriminations when in a corner. Indeed, their fight after Mandy told Georgie the truth about Scott being her boss again prompted her to call him childish, just as Georgie used Mandy's credit card debt against Mandy after she asked questions about his plan to buy McAllister Tires. How will Fagenbacher try to sink Georgie and Ruben's business? Fagenbacher's threat sounds ominous in First Marriage Season 1's finale. Fred Fagenbacher's introduction in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1, Episode 11 painted him as a thorn in Jim's side both for their history with Audrey and Georgie briefly going to work for him, making his proposal to buy McAllister Tires unexpected to say the least. Fagenbacher's reaction to Georgie and Ruben buying the store instead is even more puzzling, given his threats to drive them out of business. Why Fagenbacher wanted to buy Jim's auto shop now was already a mystery, but his taking Georgie and Ruben buying it so personally hints at a good reason, or at least at a strong belief they might be a threat to his company. Hopefully, Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 2 will explain why Fagenbacher is so intent on defeating Georgie and Ruben and what he will do to achieve that. Is Missy going to behave in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 2? First Marriage Season 1 showed only one side of Missy. Missy appeared several times in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1, but every time she did, only her rebellious side was shown. The Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon had already established Missy's dumb teenager phase as something happening after George Sr.'s death, but First Marriage Season 1 not showing Missy's perspective makes its treatment of her particularly unfair. Is Connor and Khloe's romance going to last? The couple was among the most welcomed unexpected developments in the first marriage. Connor proved to be one of the best discoveries in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1, lightening the mood during the most difficult fights and, all in all, providing a welcome oddity to the mundane problems of the McAllisters. Connor's relationship with Khloe only made his character more well-rounded, making their return in First Marriage Season 2 one of the things to look forward to more eagerly. With Khloe first appearing in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1, Episode 15, her and Connor's relationship couldn't have been under the spotlight too often. Hopefully, Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 2 will bring Connor and Khloe back and give them more hurdles to work through and come out stronger, even if First Marriage Season 1's finale didn't offer any hints about the state of their relationship. Will Sheldon finally make an appearance in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 2? TBBT and Young Sheldon's genius has only been mentioned in First Marriage. The biggest absence from Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1 was Sheldon, after the socially inept genius had been a focus of both The Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage's focus on Georgie and Mandy's life in Texas and Sheldon moving away to California give a good reason for his absence, as well as letting the spinoff find its footing without him hogging all the attention. However, with many key and secondary characters of Young Sheldon returning in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1, including George Sr. despite his death, Sheldon's absence is shaping up to be one of First Marriage's biggest mysteries. The Young Sheldon spinoff proved it doesn't need the socially inept genius's presence to succeed, but his presence would nevertheless be welcome, especially given how much time has passed since Sheldon was last seen. Which other Young Sheldon characters can return in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 2? First Marriage Season 1 saw plenty of central and secondary characters return. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1 saw Missy, Mary, Meemaw, and Dale return more often than anyone else, but it also managed to include Pastor Jeff, Coach Wilkins, Ms. Hutchins, and even George Cooper Sr. in the form of Georgie's nightmares when ill. It's highly likely that the Coopers will return as recurring guest stars in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 2 as well. First Marriage Season 1's finale would also warrant Mary's increased presence in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 2, after she offered her house as collateral to get Georgie the loan to buy McAllister Tires. This alone would make Mary's return a certainty. Missy's rebelliousness could also make a Principal Peterson cameo work, but the safest bet for which Young Sheldon characters could return in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 2 is undoubtedly the Coopers. Thanks for watching.